There is a structural reason why the gold price is manipulated and why it will skyrocket in the future. And I'm not talking about the banksters' shady scheme to manipulate precious metal prices, which we've all heard about, like JP Morgan's spoofing scheme, for which they were sentenced, or the manipulation of the silver ETF shown on Wall Street Silver. No, I'm talking about the simultaneous existence of both physical gold and paper gold. There is more paper gold traded than there are physical reserves in the world, which will lead to a future price explosion for gold. But what exactly is this paper gold? How does this paper gold manipulate the gold price? And why would the price rise? Let's answer all these questions. In general, paper gold refers to financial instruments that mimic the price of gold. The simplest example I can provide is a gold ETF. Suppose you want to expose your portfolio to gold. You can effortlessly purchase a gold ETF. But what exactly is an ETF? It's quite straightforward, as I've already explained in this video. An ETF, which stands for Exchange Traded Fund, can be understood as a passive tracker of an index. By purchasing a share of an ETF, you gain ownership of the various investments it contains. A gold ETF in particular holds a quantity of gold, allowing it to reflect the market price of gold. So when you buy shares in a gold ETF, you effectively become a part owner of the gold that the ETF holds. So this ETF is the most basic example of a paper gold instrument. But what I described is far too simple and most likely does not exist. Such a financial instrument would not allow the person who created to make a lot of money, because they would have to own, store, and safeguard a large amount of gold, which would be expensive, and as you can see on your favorite broker, gold ETF commissions are actually very low. So in reality, things are much more complicated than the simple example I shared. Instead of physical gold, gold ETF can hold gold future contracts. These are standard agreements to buy or sell gold at a predetermined price on a future date. Gold futures are traded on commodity exchanges, and by buying and selling these contracts, investors can gain exposure to gold price movements. By holding gold futures, the ETF gains exposure to the gold price without actually owning any gold. Then there are the really shady things. In normal times, only a small percentage of investors would redeem their portion of the instrument for actual gold. Most investors would rather receive a cash equivalent than actual gold when redeeming their shares. As a result, some creators of financial instruments realized that they only needed to own a fraction of gold that their instrument represented. They essentially recreated the bank's fractional reserve system, but on gold. That is one of the reasons why there is likely to be 200 to 300 times more paper gold traded than physical gold. Another messy reason for this disparity is that the same gold bar can be used in multiple financial instruments at the same time. Central banks, financial institutions, and other large physical gold holders frequently engage in gold lending activities. Again, central banks appear to be able to lend or lease physical gold to third parties who could then use the gold to back paper gold products. This process can result in multiple claims on the same gold, resulting in a higher volume of paper gold compared to physical gold. Now you know one of the main reasons why central banks hoard so much gold, but there are some other interesting reasons that I have discovered. If you want to hear them, please like and share this video to show me that you are interested in gold. You can also support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee and other platforms if you enjoy my videos and if you want to see more of them. This would also enable me to continue providing free videos while directly supporting people in Lebanon. You may be wondering why such paper gold exists and why people buy it. It's mostly because it makes people's lives easier. If you want to invest in gold, buying paper gold such as gold ETF is a great way to avoid having to find a reputable vendor, and you don't have to find a buyer when you want to sell. It's essentially more liquid. Furthermore, there are numerous disadvantages and practical considerations to owning gold. I have one complete video on that here. For investors, paper gold is extremely convenient. And as usual, when it's convenient for investors, bankers and other trustworthy people will try to mess with it. In that case, the mess created is actually suppressing the price of gold structurally. Paper gold artificially suppresses the gold price. Many investors confuse purchasing physical gold with purchasing a derivative financial instrument based on physical gold, such as an ETF. It's normal to see no difference because the prices of financial instruments on gold and physical gold are the same. However, paper gold creates an additional gold supply that does not exist. Because of the lever effect, paper gold generates a never-increasing virtual supply of gold. And because it diverts demand for real gold to virtual gold, this virtual supply directly competes with physical gold. To put it another way, gold paper reduces the scarcity of gold because the demand for gold would have otherwise been invested in physical gold if gold paper did not exist. And as we all know, decreased scarcity usually means less price pressure on an asset. But now, why and how will gold's price rise in the future according to me? It all comes down to the de facto fractional reserve system based on gold. In the event of a major crisis, when enough paper gold holders want to convert to physical gold, or enough shorts want to cover their positions, there may be a run on physical gold and its value may skyrocket to absurd levels such as $20,000 per ounce. Actually, during the coronavirus crash in March 2020, some billion banks were, to put it mildly, extremely stressed. To be honest, I don't want to think about what will happen to paper gold if China invades Taiwan, Russia uses nuclear tactical bombs, Dutch banks go bankrupt, and so on. And again, all of these are just grey swans. We are not even talking about black swans. And this demonstrates that a black swan isn't even required to cause major problems. For those who are up to date on legislation, you could tell me that all of the issues I've discussed so far were supposed to be addressed by Basel III in 2021. But for the time being, it appears to have had the same impact as any COP meeting on climate change, but that's another story. In any case, the real question is what you should buy. For me, the answer is simple. I don't consider gold to be an inflation hedge, let alone a hyperinflation hedge as as shown in both of these videos. However, I believe that gold is a good insurance policy in case your country experiences an economic collapse similar to Lebanon's. In that regard, I believe that only physical gold makes sense. Gold is an insurance policy that pays off when a bunch of idiots, called politicians, decide it's a good idea that your country's currency degrades to the level of the toilet paper, as in my home country of Lebanon. And in this video, I will explain what I had to learn in order for your gold to be a good insurance policy. You can support me on Patreon and other platforms, and a big thanks to the MVPs who have already done so, and we keep in touch on Twitter and Instagram.